Far away from the city, in a deserted area behind tall walls, there was a large warehouse, a place so hidden that no one's eyes could even touch it. Here, humans were bought and sold. Terrifying, yet true. Inside the warehouse, darkness prevailed. Silence reigned, broken only by a booming voice demanding that tonight's work must be finished no matter what. If a single mistake happened, no one would be worse off than him. This voice belonged to David Mitchell. Everyone else stood silently with bowed heads, none daring to interrupt him. Though he appeared calm and decent, David was extremely dangerous, a businessman who had surpassed many big names in a short time. But everyone knew his success was built not on merit but on fear and cunning. Yet these truths were known to only a few, one of whom was Natasha. She was a reporter, not the usual screaming anchor, but one who exposed stories hiding terrifying truths. With years of experience, she knew how deeply rotten people who appear decent inside could be. Tonight was the biggest night of her career. If this news got out, the whole system could shake, and Natasha's name would dominate every newspaper and TV channel. Hidden in a dark corner behind iron bars inside the warehouse, Natasha held her breath, clutching her microphone and camera, recording everything. No one dared come near her. Men like these should be wearing bangles, she muttered to herself, her face serious and her heart clenched as if ready to burst out. But her hands did not tremble. She was scared, yes, but not weak. She wanted to capture every traitor's face on camera. Suddenly, a strange voice echoed, "Stop. Something feels wrong." Everyone froze, and silence deepened. A slow, deadly smile appeared on David's face. "I know someone's here. You all get back to work. I'll check it out." A man stepped forward, and the others returned to their tasks. The man deliberately gave the appearance of letting her escape. He took a torch and a small pistol from his jacket pocket. Natasha's breath caught, she covered her mouth with her hand, a chill running through her body. She wondered if she could face so many men alone. Then, she stopped the recording, quietly pulled out her phone from another pocket, knowing that if she was caught, this footage would never see the light of day and her mission would remain unfinished. She wasn't a movie heroine, just an ordinary person who, when chasing the truth, didn't give up until it was exposed. She didn't want to stay anonymous in the reporting world like others who worked, died, and vanished without recognition. "Be careful, Natasha," she whispered to herself. A bullet could pierce straight through the heart. She silenced her phone and slowly edged toward the side. Every sound in the warehouse sank deep into her nerves. She knew someone was there. That person didn't want to scare her openly but wanted the game to continue, to keep the prey afraid and running. Slowly, he moved toward her, his eyes sensing the hidden things in the dark. "Do you think you're very clever?" he thought with a slight smile. But Natasha was quietly celebrating inside that she was winning this game. Little did she know he had recognized her long ago. Nowadays, even the media had become a nuisance. One man said, "They make videos of everything and upload it on social media." Another joked that maybe no one was there, or someone had just run away. Others laughed. Media was no longer just news, it had become a threat. Natasha took a deep breath of relief and quietly moved out of the warehouse. Once outside, she looked all around, checking if anyone was following. The man's eyes watched her from afar. "You'll have to stay away from me, but you will pay the price for spying," he thought. But Natasha was celebrating some kind of victory, her face full of smiles. "You think you tricked me," he kept thinking to himself. "You didn't realize I gave you this chance." Natasha was now sure she had one. No one could stop her from her mission. She checked her phone again, recording was complete, every face, every voice, every piece of evidence was with her. It was 10 p.m., and the streets were silent, the sky covered with clouds as if hiding a great secret. When she reached home, her mother wasn't at the door. But Natasha feared she might still be asleep. She opened the door gently, praying, "Please let Mom be asleep now." But the old wooden chair creaked, and her mother opened her eyes and sat up. When she saw Natasha, she said tiredly but lovingly, "You're home. How many times do I tell you to come early?" When women make mistakes, people call them loose. But you are making a mistake that keeps me awake at night. You're my daughter, and only a mother can understand the fear for her daughters these days. Her voice carried a complaint wrapped in love. Natasha said nothing, silently dropping her bag on the sofa and heading straight to the kitchen for a glass of water. Then, without saying a word, she returned and sat down quietly. She knew if an argument started with her mother now, it would lead nowhere. Her mother's old stubbornness was that she wanted Natasha to quit this job and either take a simple job or stay home. "I raised you without making you work," her mother said, looking at her. "Did you go spying again? These aren't small people, Natasha. What if something happens to you? Do you think you're the one to fix everyone? Let things run their course. The world has always been like this." Natasha shrugged and replied, "But Mom, how can my conscience stay calm after knowing everything? The unrest inside me won't let me live in peace. Only this work that brings truth to light gives me peace." Her mother sighed deeply, holding an old handkerchief that was probably from Natasha's school days, now used to stitch clothes. "Natasha, leave all this. You know I raised you through sewing. Never let you lack anything. Thank God we eat with dignity. So why do you keep risking yourself?" Natasha's face hardened, and she avoided looking at her mother, just turning her eyes away lightly and saying, "Have you ever felt how bitter that dignity's bread really is? Doesn't Mom know how many vile things people said that made my clothes wet with tears, how slowly they broke my courage and health?" Her mother listened quietly as Natasha placed the handkerchief beside her. "You raised me as a treasure, Mom. But don't say I am anyone's possession." Silence filled the room. Her mother said nothing, but her fingers tightened around the handkerchief. The thought that Natasha was someone's possession was so bitter it made the heart tremble just to think about it. The one who called her that never even asked once, never searched or checked when life was toughest, when Natasha needed him the most. That person was gone and probably forgotten Natasha by now. A strange light sparkled in Natasha's eyes. She smiled with a faint sarcasm and said, "The one who left never even looked back. So why should I waste my heart on him now?" There was no poison in her voice, only a tired, broken kind of pain. Her mother's face bowed down, as if old wounds were being touched again. She prayed day and night for just one thing, that her daughter Natasha would settle down and have a proper farewell. But why keep burning her heart for the one left behind, who never even looked back? Natasha's voice held no bitterness, only a deep pain, a wound that had worsened over time. That man must be very happy in his life now, she was sure. He chose his memories and forgot her. But her mother now knew how much effort Natasha had put in back then, how many times she crushed her self-respect hoping that maybe somewhere in his heart something remained for her. But now she didn't want to be anyone's possession anymore, she wanted to find her own truth. If the path was difficult and dangerous, she accepted it, but she would not remain silent. I looked at Natasha. Her eyes held the same stubbornness and fire that had once been seen in David's eyes. Her mother softly said, "You're exactly like your father, daughter. But remember this, speaking the truth is easy, living it is the hardest." Natasha had grown wiser now, keeping her tied at home was impossible. As a mother, she could only advise, not imprison. Natasha said nothing, quietly picked up her bag and walked toward her room. Her mother lowered her eyes again, a tear quietly falling on the handkerchief. It was morning. Hungry and driven by a call, Natasha rushed to the office because, in her mind, such a big story deserved to be the morning headline. No media had ever gone so deep. Everyone was shocked. What had Natasha uncovered? A meeting was called. Natasha confidently handed over her camera. But as the recording played, the screen showed nothing. The file was missing. Silence filled the room. The honking of a bus echoed in Natasha's mind. In her hand was the empty recording drive that should have held the greatest truth of her life. Her face went pale. How is this possible? Until last night, I saw the video myself. She said, Sir, I'm telling the truth. The full recording was there. I don't know how, maybe someone. Her voice faltered as if words got stuck in her throat. Some looked at her with sympathy, others glared as if she'd made a huge mistake. Suddenly, a harsh voice behind said, Because of this foolish girl, we lost a major story. That man could have blackmailed us and let him go? This isn't a college project, Natasha. This is a news channel. Here we don't deal with maybes, we deal with proof. Natasha swallowed her tears. Please give me one more chance. I'm sure someone conspired against me. Her voice was so soft that even she barely believed her own words. Her conscience couldn't bear the thought that after so much hard work, someone doubted her honesty. But the boss wouldn't listen. Enough. We're done with your false stories. You're fired immediately. He raised a finger to silence her. Natasha felt as if patience itself had glued to her. Her eyes spoke volumes, but words still stood back. Your feelings are one thing, Natasha, but a channel doesn't run on feelings. You are fired right now. A slight haze clouded her eyes. The girl who had been with the channel from the start, who had spent nights in front of the computer screen, who had braved sun, rain, streets, and pushbacks while reporting, today was thrown out for a single mistake. For a moment, Natasha froze like a stone. Her bag slipped from her hand and hit the ground. Moisture welled up in her eyes. She wanted to say something, but her tongue had deserted her. Staying in that office was no longer right for her. Outside, the sun blazed fiercely. Natasha looked up at the sky as if accusing it of being equally ruthless. The same thought circled her mind. By throwing me out like this, it's the channel that suffers loss. My intentions were pure, I had proof. This was an inside job. Someone definitely betrayed me. But her world had already drowned in darkness. Walking along, she had no courage left. She sat down on a deserted sidewalk. People moved about their business, cars rushed by, children played in the streets. But her world was utterly silent and still. She opened her bag and took out her phone. She checked the camera folder repeatedly, but silence remained. No files, no backups, no clues. Had the earth swallowed it or the sky taken it? Where could that video be? Yesterday she had gone straight home. Today she came to the office. No one suspicious crossed her path. Then her heart said it was simply a bad day. She should have sought her mother's blessings. They'd be happy to hear she lost her job anyway. She told herself she hadn't acted well, wondering how she hadn't understood that this was someone's plan. Tears filled her eyes again, recalling how humiliated she had been in front of everyone. She had broken. At that moment, they didn't care that she risked her life for them. One day she would become a major news anchor, and these small channels would yearn for their reporter. And the one on whose command she risked everything had destroyed it all in an instant. Her mother was right, this world was like this now. Even if she had died spying that day, no one would have cared. She laughed, a poisonous laugh only she could hear. Natasha thought, did I ever believe I was a movie heroine? That someone would come and save me? She wiped her tears with her shawl and walked away. Her mother said she was someone's possession, but Natasha looked at the sky, wondering in what color that fool was living his life, while her mother was stuck with him, the one who left her and never looked back. She rested her head on her lap and closed her eyes. For a moment, she felt defeated. But the next moment, she lifted her head. There was no defeat in her eyes, only war. Her mind's light seemed to ignite. Only David could do this. Who else? He must have realized she found his weakness. Gritting her teeth, she said, No, what you took from me, I will take back. Your reality isn't just mine, the world needs to see it. Amid the noise of her silent resolve, a storm had risen inside her heart. She trusted her years of experience. Even if this channel fires me, another will hire me. But now I'm not backing down. What did you think? You can shut me up by closing a door? I am Natasha, not a silenced voice. Meanwhile, since Natasha left home hungry and angry, her mother was very worried. This girl was still the same as in her childhood. Whatever sat in her heart, it stayed there. Then, a soft knock came at the door. Maybe Natasha had returned. Her mother, wrapped in a shawl, opened the door, but instead of Natasha, a young man stood there. She didn't recognize him. The sun was on his face, but his eyes held a strange silence and depth. "Hello, Auntie," a familiar voice said. It felt like a lost happiness stirred in her heart. She stepped forward, opened the door fully, and looked at him carefully. "Hello, you're Kevin." He smiled softly and bowed his head. With trembling hands, Natasha's mother placed her hand on his and began blessing him. After so many years, he had returned. Their daughter had given up hope even on hearing his name, but a mother always believed. "I know Natasha probably didn't even mention me and maybe feels bitterness towards me," Kevin said quietly. "But times have changed now." It was the son-in-law's first visit home, and standing at the door wasn't appropriate. She silently nodded and stepped away. This was the boy now known in the world as Kevin. He slowly came inside and sat on a sofa to one side. Natasha's mother came and sat on a chair opposite him. Though Natasha never said anything, a mother can understand, somewhere deep in her heart there was still a place for him. She used to look at the sky and say that one day he would return. David's eyes showed the depth of regret. After you left and she was completely alone, her father had to leave the city out of compulsion. But before leaving, he had tied this relationship into a strong bond. David bowed his head. "Yes, and maybe I will never forgive myself for this. It was my fault, ma'am." His voice held sorrow, but now time was short and he said, "I can't leave you both alone again. I am alone too." I kept looking into his eyes. It was the same boy but now completely changed. Natasha wasn't the same either. She wasn't nervous anymore and wouldn't agree to any farewell so easily. "I will have to convince her first." David took a deep breath. He had come twice before, but Natasha hadn't even recognized him because David had not only changed his name but his entire identity, inside and out. He had become a new person. If she wants to keep this relationship, she will surely return, and you are here too. You will have to explain this to her. The teacup in her mother's hand trembled slightly. David looked at them gently and promised, "I vow to take her with me soon and bring you both along. She is my responsibility and always has been." Her mother closed her eyes as if a heavy burden long held on her heart had suddenly become lighter. Their daughter was not alone in this world. Her companion was alive, sitting right there. "You know, Natasha is no longer that innocent child. She has become very tough," her mother said softly. "I know," David replied quietly. "I have felt every silence and every tear of hers. Every wound of hers felt like it entered me too." Her mother didn't want to dig into the old wound or ask the question that had stayed locked in her heart for years: why did he return after so many years? For them, it was enough that he came back. Then David took a small envelope out of his pocket and handed it to her mother. "This is my old address. If Natasha asks, just tell her David came and found you." Her mother silently took the envelope and nodded. Why would Natasha come to him? She probably wouldn't even like to hear he had come. When David was leaving, his steps felt heavy. He glanced one last time at the small room, then opened the door and lost himself again as Kevin. Natasha's mother had no connection to media or TV, otherwise she might have questioned him about where he had been all these years. He had spent the whole day on the streets. If he had come home earlier, she would have had many questions to ask. So Natasha came home late that night, her face tired, her heart troubled but not weak. There was no shadow now on her shoulders, and the man written in her fate had left her too. Her mother looked into her eyes, put her bag aside without saying anything. Today, she asked no questions, didn't scold for being late or look into her tired eyes. Will you eat something? She softly asked, the words she was supposed to say later put aside as feeding her seemed more important. No, Mom, I'm not hungry. Just want to sleep. I'm tired. Okay, but sit for a while. Someone came to meet you, she said. Natasha looked surprised at her mother. Was it someone from the channel apologizing? No, someone else. Her mother handed her an envelope. As soon as Natasha saw the name, her heart stopped. Her eyes blinked in shock. What is this? She asked in a trembling voice. David came. He said he found you and will soon take you with him. Natasha's breath caught. She wanted to say she was never really gone, she was right where David left her. She opened the envelope and found an old address with a simple line, I was never far from you, only time and circumstances silenced me. Now the time has come to keep my promise. A storm rose in Natasha's eyes, inside her a terrible wave of confusion, surprise, and anger surged. Why had David come now? Where was he all these years when she needed him most? Now that she had nothing left, no father, no peace, no relationships, why was he back? Faces of every man who had betrayed her flashed before her eyes. Except for her father, no man in this world was good to her. Everyone wore a mask. After so many years, why come back now? Natasha's heart trembled inside. Are you here to make me weak again? If I break this time, I won't be able to hold myself together. Her voice carried not fear but pain. But fate had laid a cloth that was no longer just a secret but a mark of war. Natasha's mother tried hard to convince her. He's no longer the weak, skinny boy he once was, son. If you see him now, you might not recognize him. He has matured a lot, become very handsome. What difference does that make? No matter how handsome the face of a betrayer, truth is seen in the eyes, and I didn't recognize him then, that's why I was betrayed so deeply. On her mother's face was a confidence as if from the heart saying, meet him once, he will erase all your complaints. I saw shame in his eyes. But Natasha didn't try to contact David. Her priority now was her job. She had knocked on every office door, stood every morning outside some news channel, web media, or agency with hope. But each time she was reminded of her past mistake or met with blunt rejection. Some avoided saying no to keep up appearances, others plainly said they didn't need a reporter who loses evidence in passion. Natasha sighed. The truth was that now everyone was afraid of the truth and of honest people. One day, while leaving an office, a security guard blocked her path. Sorry, there is a security complaint against you. You have already tarnished our channel's name. We want no relation with you. Every word stabbed Natasha's chest like a dagger. She was not broken but definitely tired. She was one of the few journalists who didn't close their eyes to the truth, who lived for the work they believed in, not for money. She was among the few who loved their work and were willing to go to any lengths for it. When the last door closed on her, she sat on an empty park bench. The sky was hazy as if even the clouds felt her condition. Leaves were scattered on the ground, like the incomplete chapters of her life spread there. Her heart broke again from every corner. Everyone here seemed wrapped in corruption. No one wanted to hear the truth. No one wanted a mirror held up to them. If the video was deleted by mistake, would her whole life be destroyed for that? Natasha screamed inside. Would she ever step into this profession again, or was she permanently out? She clearly understood who was behind all this. David. She hadn't made a single friend who stood with her now. All doors seemed to close one by one. I never considered anyone mine, or maybe there was no one who truly understood me, she muttered. Then suddenly an idea struck her like lightning. A spark lit her eyes, a clever spark showing her the way. When all your doors close, the enemy's door is closest. Natasha straightened up suddenly. Her mind raced fast and her feet moved on their own toward a path. Kevin's office, his empire, and now Natasha, who once wanted to run away from him, was the one thinking of returning. She immediately took out her phone, opened a business website, and found the career page of Kevin Industries. In no time, her finger stopped on a post, a vacancy for media assistant, as if fate itself was showing her the way. This couldn't be a coincidence. God had given her another chance. Maybe there was a purpose behind this. Either fate was knocking on her door or this was a new move of destiny. But if I get inside the office, then Raghav's secrets will be in front of me. And Kevin, you'll see, your throne will shake. Sitting there, she edited her resume, removed the old channel's name, and wrote freelance journalist, investigative storyteller instead. She softened the tone of the words a bit, but her intent was very clear. Then she filled out the form and applied. Now only time would tell whether this was a move she made or someone else had already made a move against her. Who knew that the pawn she thought was a mere piece in the game was actually on someone else's board? The next day she couldn't believe it. She got a call on her phone. "Hello, Miss Natasha. Your profile is very interesting. Can you come for an interview at 11 a.m. tomorrow?" She immediately replied, "Yes, I will be there." A faint smile touched her lips. Game beginnings. Natasha hadn't told her mother anything yet. She didn't want to trouble her, even though her mother had asked many times, "Have you contacted David?" Every time Natasha would put her off, "Yes, Mom, I will. Everything will happen in time." But this time, as she put down the phone, there was a spark in her eyes. She was no longer the old broken Natasha or an unemployed reporter. Now she was going inside the enemy's own kingdom, as a silent eye. Meanwhile, her mother was worried seeing her busy on the phone. "What madness is this, Natasha? Aren't you serious about your marriage at all? If the man has come back, at least respect him. You know how much effort he made for you." Natasha took a deep breath. "Mom, I don't have time now. Believe me, when I do, I'll contact him myself. After all, he's your future son-in-law, I won't just leave him. But right now, he's not on my priority list." As soon as the conversation ended, she grabbed a rickshaw and stopped in front of Kevin Industries. The job didn't match her temperament or soul, but when times are bad, a person can even make a donkey his master. Natasha was seated in a magnificent, highly professional meeting room, blue walls, a large wooden desk in front, pictures hanging on the walls. This was the place she wanted to gather evidence against the empire. She felt like a camera's eye was watching her. She could feel those camera eyes. Then a door opened, releasing a strong perfume into the room. He entered, dressed in a suit, confident with a gleam in his eyes and a smile that hid something and probably knew a lot. The regret was he had worn so many faces that no one could see his real one now. His gaze fixed on Natasha. Time seemed to freeze for a long moment, then he gave a slight smile like an old face trying to recognize someone. Natasha's throat dried up, but she tried to bring calm to her face. She was here for the job, she told herself quietly, though inside many things were stirring. He walked slowly to the other side of the desk and sat down. Then, stroking the piles of files beside the chair, he said, "You look as surprised as if you're seeing me for the first time, though you know all this." He spoke as if they shared an old friendship, as if nothing had changed. There was a deep bond between them, very deep. Hearing this, Natasha was startled. "Aunt told me you worked at a news channel. Then how are you in my office?" There was a faint smile in her voice, but her eyes said something else, as if she was seeing and feeling everything. Natasha looked at him again, recalling her mother's words that he had changed so much that she wouldn't recognize him. And it was true. Such a big betrayal, the man she had been searching for all these years, trying day and night to know his secrets. He was so close, yet she hadn't even recognized his shadow. Her tongue seemed frozen, pupils dilated in shock, inside there was a fierce clash. 15 years, she whispered to herself softly. 15 years ago, that boy was completely different, name, identity, heart, and emotions all different. Now he was just a big deal maker, the same Raghav Mittal he was connected with. Kevin's face hardened for a moment, then he quickly softened it again. "Time changes a lot," he said, Natasha came here with another purpose, but fate had taken her to a different turn. Sometimes life takes turns beyond imagination. Natasha sat up straight, her voice firm now. Some things shouldn't change with time, some promises, some people, and some relationships. Her words held bitterness, as if salt was again rubbed on her burnt wounds. David, aka Kevin, who had now grown big with the support of industrialist Rugov Middle, she took a deep breath looking at him. Natasha's smile was mixed with pain and poison. Those wounds don't forget or heal. Silence filled the room for a moment. Then Kevin opened a file on the desk, as if wanting to change the topic. So you want to work in the PR department? Natasha's eyes locked into his with a desire to learn and a stubbornness to reach the truth. A slight smile played on Rugov's lips. Stubbornness hasn't always worked in your favor, Natasha. And today, Natasha spoke softly but with full confidence, secrets are the truth of the past that someone has hidden. This word probably suits you better, Mr. Kevin. He looked into her eyes for a few moments, then, as if shocked, closed the file and said, I want to see how much truth you can handle, Natasha. He knew the truths surrounding him could once again break every relationship he had. Maybe Natasha's too. But Natasha's smile was now one of happiness. There was a declaration in her eyes, no matter what happens, I will bring the truth forward, no matter how many masks hide behind faces. David, who was once a very kind-hearted boy who loved his city, had now joined people like Rugov Middle, and Natasha was certain her David was no longer there. Her mother perhaps foolishly hoped he would return, but Natasha knew he would never come back. He had become part of a world from which there was no easy return. Evening had fallen. A light orange layer spread across the sky. At that moment, Natasha stood in front of the lavish bungalow Kevin had built with illegal earnings. Everything was completely quiet, the bungalow and perhaps the voices inside that once beat for truth. Who becomes rich by straight paths these days? This question had crossed Natasha's mind many times. Every corner, every wall seemed to hide a secret. She knew it was all a facade, tall buildings, false relationships, and a name that was no longer hers. She had come here only on her mother's insistence, but she was clear in her mind that until Kevin, aka David, admitted all his crimes, friendship or any relationship between them was impossible. Then the door opened. Natasha entered inside, her face tense but with a hidden hope of peace in her eyes, a slight frown on her forehead. Kevin welcomed her as if everything was normal, but Natasha knew it was all just a show. Her mother was standing behind her, holding her hand, as if forcibly pulling her inside. What is all this? Natasha's voice echoed through the room. You've built huge mansions. Such mansions built on the foundation of lies and fear. David tried to say something, but Natasha interrupted, You told me it was just a talk, but dragging me here forcibly wasn't part of that. Just then, her mother tried to speak, but David gently raised his hand, Please, ma'am, you rest. I'll talk to Natasha. Her mother silently left the room. Angry, Natasha threw her purse on the sofa and turned sharply toward David. Who do you think you are? You can fool my mother, but not me. No one can snatch my decisions from me, no matter whose name is on that paper. David was calm, already prepared for this storm. I'm not forcing you. Natasha, I'm saving you. He said coldly, You don't realize who you're up against. I can't put you or myself in danger. Danger? Natasha's eyes burned. You weren't the danger. I was the danger myself. You're the one who left me midway when I needed you most, considered me a threat. David stayed silent for a moment. I pushed you away to save you. Something got stuck inside Natasha. Don't use the word wife so easily. This marriage is just paper now. I wasn't your wife, just a name you used to your advantage. David's eyes lowered, then slowly lifted. Paper is just evidence the law recognizes. But what I value is your life, which is beyond any law. Natasha's eyes still sparked with anger, but something else was breaking inside. She silently sat on the sofa. Now David was sitting opposite her, his gaze serious but weary, as if carrying a burden for years. You know what? Natasha's voice was low but trembling with hurt. I was most afraid that I'd never trust anyone again, and you did exactly that. My biggest fear became reality. David was silent, lips trembling to say something but stopped. His eyes landed on an old painting on the wall, the same painting his mother had made years ago. He never thought one day the girl who was once his whole world would sit in this house, now treating that world like dust. Everything around you, the mansion, the cars, the business, it all seems so fake, Natasha said softly. Seeing you, it's hard to believe you were once David, one of the city's most honest boys. David sighed lightly. Some things time changes, and some things we are forced to change ourselves. Natasha looked straight into his eyes. And you saved yourself? A faint, dishonest smile appeared on David's lips, no warmth, maybe because he had just learned to survive. After a few seconds of silence, Natasha got up and walked to the window. Outside, light rain droplets began to fall. An old song was playing softly from a corner, making everything feel heavier. I thought this time I'd expose you and your partner. I was collecting evidence, working all night, your old records, your transactions, everything. She said, looking out the window, each time feeling something missing. David stood behind her. Sometimes, what seems incomplete is the most true, you just have to change the perspective. Natasha turned, her eyes asked questions, now filled not with anger but restless curiosity. What are you trying to say? David paused, then said, if I tell you what you see is just a facade, and I did all this just to protect you, Natasha laughed, bitterly, do you really think I'm that naive? No, David said deeply, I know how strong and smart you are, but I also know you shouldn't be in this game. You're close to a secret that demands more than courage, it demands risking your life. The shadow of doubt in Natasha's eyes deepened. What secret? And why do you care? David's eyes sharpened, he leaned in softly, because that secret involves Raghav, and Raghav is not just your enemy, he's mine too. Raghav, the name that was still blurry in Natasha's mind, not fully understood or known, was now coming into focus. You know him? Natasha asked. David replied, I've been after him for years. Natasha's face went pale. What are you trying to say, that you? I'm a businessman. David for the first time showed a glimpse of his true identity. I'm not here just to make money. I'm here to expose the man who not only broke my family but also conspired to ruin your life. Natasha was silent for a moment, her heartbeat quickened, her questions grew bigger. Why didn't you tell me, she whispered, because the day I would have told you everything, David's voice trembled, you wouldn't have been with me, but against me. That's what Raghav wanted, to make us doubt each other. A long silence filled the room. Then David stepped forward and placed a hand on her shoulder. Natasha, it's not a lie that I want to protect you, but the truth is, I live every moment in danger. And if you stay close to me, your life will be in danger too. Natasha's eyes filled with tears. She was confused, should she trust him or wrap herself again in old anger? Her voice broke, now we have to fight together. A different fire lit in David's eyes. Now we have to expose the face of the one who sowed hatred between us, poisoned your trust, and forced me to fall in your eyes. Natasha looked at him quietly. For the first time, he was not just David, but the real David she saw. He said he was not allied with Raghav but was trying to trap him. The night had deepened, winds blowing strongly, and the room's lights cast a soft yellow glow. Natasha sat by the window, her eyes fixed on a single point while her mind raced. Now that David had handed her the thread of truth, it was impossible for her to separate herself from this tangled web. David was here, but this time the wall between them was gone. Now they stood together against Raghav, who had destroyed her family too. After a while, Natasha asked, and a depth appeared in David's eyes, awakening a wounded innocence. My father was an honest IPS officer. David said, he exposed Raghav's illicit business, but the evidence never reached court because he was killed in an accident. But I know it wasn't an accident, it was murder. Natasha's throat dried, and your mother, my mother, she spent weeks in hospitals before finally giving up, broken inside. I was just 17 then, but I vowed to bring this man to justice. Natasha asked, did you not join the police? No, David smiled faintly. I chose a tougher path. I joined an agency tasked with uprooting him. I had to leave my name, identity, everything behind. When I returned to this city, I came back as Kevin, infiltrating Rugov's world. Natasha was shocked. When we first met, she said softly. Yes, David looked into her eyes. I was still on my mission, but I didn't know you were connected to the one I'd been searching for all these years. What do I have to do with her? Natasha clenched her fists. Your college project was connected to him. Do you remember the file from that old warehouse, that incomplete report? Natasha's eyes widened. That was just a documentation project, she said. No, David replied, that project was a warning bell for Rugov. 8 years ago, a girl was murdered in that warehouse. That report, unknowingly, you turned everyone's attention to that place. Natasha was now struggling to breathe. She said, so, this isn't because of me. David quickly said, you did nothing wrong, but since then, he started tracking you. When you tried to leak the report to the media through a friend, he saw you as a threat, and you lied to me to protect me. Natasha's voice softened. I never hurt you. David stepped closer, but it wasn't possible to tell you the truth then. A long silence filled the room again. Outside, the rain had intensified, lightning flickered through the window. Natasha got up and moved toward the pile of old files nearby. If I really want to know his truth, she said, I have to come with you. You shouldn't come. This path is very dangerous. Going back is even more dangerous for me, Natasha said, looking into his eyes. Now that I know you're not lying, I won't fight alone. The next day, David started an old black SUV. Natasha sat with him. He wore simple clothes and had his hair tied so no one could recognize where they were going. Natasha asked, where did it all start? David answered, Rugov's factory, which looks like a biochemical plant from outside but runs his trafficking racket inside. And what we'll find there? He said quietly, if we come back alive. The road was long and silent, surrounded by empty fields, broken pillars, and deserted roads. Natasha looked out the window. Everything she knew had now flipped. David no longer seemed like the enemy she thought he was, but a broken man fighting a hidden battle. Reaching the factory, they parked the car behind some old bushes. David pulled out a small drone from the trunk and handed Natasha a screen. Look, he said, 2 guards, one at the front gate, one in the wash tower. A third moves inside. I'll go in. You guide me from here. Natasha squinted, focusing on the screen, now fully prepared. As David entered, his movements were as serious as a secret agent's. He knocked out the guard at the wash tower with a night dart and sneaked inside. Natasha watched every move on the screen. Then something appeared that made her hair stand on end. David, stop, she whispered into the mic. What's wrong? He asked. A new man just entered. His face isn't clear, but it could be Rugov. David fell silent. If he's there today, he said quietly, I won't get another chance to get evidence. I have to go inside. Inside the factory was a secret room in the basement where all of Rugov's data was stored. David pulled out hard drives from the system, scanned documents, and started collecting evidence. Suddenly, Natasha's voice came, hurry up. Movement on the camera. 2 guards are coming that way. 5 minutes. David replied, we don't have 5 minutes. A loud alarm echoed throughout the basement. Now we have to run, Natasha said anxiously. David's eyes burned with determination. Now that I'm this close, I won't give up. In a difficult last second, David came out. Natasha started the car, and they sped away. They were chased, bullets fired, tires screeched, but finally, they escaped through dark alleys to an old warehouse. Natasha stepped out, panting, tears streaming down her face. "Don't you care about your life?" she shouted. "No," David said calmly, "if I don't bring this evidence, no one ever will." The night passed. Morning sunlight peeked through the window. Natasha was tired, but her face no longer looked fearful. "You gave your life to this mission," she said, "and today you risked yourself for me." David looked at her. "Now we are no longer incomplete. We are a team." Natasha's eyes welled up. Where trust had once broken, it now began to mend, not with hatred or misunderstanding, but with purpose and a shadow walking alongside David. The morning rays entered through the window, but this morning felt different, lighter, clearer, and more truthful, as if everything was slowly returning to its place. Natasha held a coffee mug, sitting at the table with the same files in front of her that contained Raghov's entire story. In a few hours, their case would be presented in court, and this was no ordinary case. It was the fight of many whose voices were never heard. David, standing in the corner with rolled-up sleeves, his face calm but eyes showing faint tension like a snake's stare, years of hard work, countless dangers, and today just one opportunity, one chance. Natasha looked at him, and David smiled lightly. "When you are with me, I'm not afraid, and when you weren't." Natasha's voice was playful but eyes still moist. David came closer, sat opposite her, and said, "Even then, I thought of you. Every night when I felt I'd lose, you came to my mind." Natasha said nothing, just held his hand. Some feelings are understood not with words but with emotions. The courtroom atmosphere was heavy. Raghov sat among his team of lawyers, dressed sharply, his face serious as if he'd already accepted the law could do nothing to him. But today, he didn't know David was not just an agent but a storm raised by the winds of his crimes. As evidence was presented, video footage, data from hard drives, recordings from the basement, the courtroom grew silent. Then Natasha stood and testified, sharing her experience, her fear, and the night she first saw David and thought he was her enemy. "I saw with my own eyes how a person can live with two faces," Natasha said, "but it took me time to realize who wore the real mask." Raghov's lawyers tried hard, questioning, attacking with words, but Natasha was no longer a broken girl. She was the witness to a truth once suppressed. Then the judge paused long before delivering the verdict. Based on presented evidence, testimony, and forensic validation, the judge declared Raghov Middle guilty. For trafficking, illegal arms storage, witness tampering, and other charges, the court sentenced him to life imprisonment. Silence broke in the courtroom, no applause, no cheers, but every face seemed to breathe out, saying justice is alive. Outside, it was raining, a soft, soothing rain, as if the sky wanted to cleanse itself. Natasha stood on the stairs, looking at the sky. David came with an umbrella and said, "Shall we get wet now, or head home?" "I want to get wet today," Natasha smiled. Without umbrellas, they walked in the pouring rain. The road was wet, but their hearts were clear. After a few steps, David stopped. Natasha looked at him. "I have to ask something I've held back until now." Natasha turned. "When this is all over, when I reclaim my identity and you start your life again, will there be a place for me in it?" Natasha was silent for a moment. Her eyes looked straight into David's, where once unknown fear had lived, now only peace. "Do you think I only found justice with you in this fight?" she said. "No," he replied, "I found trust with you that I never had with anyone else." Then she came closer, holding his hand. "My next beginning will be with you." David said nothing, only held her hand tighter in the rain. The story ended, but life had a new beginning from there. Friends, I hope you liked our story. If you liked it, please like the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and don't forget to press the notification bell so you get the latest updates first.